Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of DHS SportsCenter. I am your host, Ben Smith. On today's episode, I will be speaking with senior Zach Sylvia about the big upcoming Super Bowl game between the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. Later, I have two very special guests that I will also be speaking with about the big game. Stay tuned for that and more on DHS SportsCenter. Let's go!
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Eric Turkar from the Dartmouth District 1 Fire Department, and I'm here to talk to you about fire safety. Match safety is very important. We like to say that all big fires come from small fires, and a match basically is a small fire. So you want to make sure that those are safely away and away from any small children. There are different degrees of burns that you can get from any kind of flame or any kind of fire. 3 types. There's a first degree, second degree, and third degree. Those are your most common ones. First degree burn is basically a sunburn. Skin's red, hot to the touch, slightly painful. Second degree burn is a little more intense with pain and has blistering of the skin. You always want to make sure you never burst any of those blisters though that are there, because they can lead to infection. Third degree burns is your worst case scenario of your basic burns, and that's burning down into the skin layers, and you'll have a dark coloring to it, yellowish or a blackish color to it. This is your standard fire extinguisher, a little bigger than what you'll have at your house, but it's called an ABC extinguisher. It'll extinguish most fires in your house. Easiest way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher is the word PASS. P-A-S-S. And basically, all you do is you pull this pin, A, aim the nozzle at the fire, at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and then sweep it back and forth. That's your easiest way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher. Fire can be dangerous. It's useful, but can be very dangerous. So make sure you don't play with fire, and make sure you're prepared if a fire starts.
You all know that it's coming up. The day dedicated to filling all our hearts with love. Or, if you're not into that, shoving your body full of all the chocolate it can barely handle. I'm of course talking about Valentine's Day. This tradition feels as old as time, and in fact it is. Originally created in Rome in 496 AD, the holiday is used to celebrate Saint Valentine, who had mostly nothing to do with the concept of romance. It wasn't until the Middle Ages in 1408 when the day became associated with love. The earliest Valentine's card in history was traced back to 1477, when Marjorie Brew sent one to her fiancé John Paxton, and hundreds of years later, we still celebrate. The day itself is not that far away, coming up on February the 14th, so get your cards and your hearts ready for Valentine's Day 2022.
All right, so I got Zach Sylvia on the show, and welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the Los Angeles Rams, the NFC champions. What do you think about them this year?
Well, I think they're a very dangerous team. Obviously, there's a good reason they're here. They're loaded on defense with guys like Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, who's a name. He's an old guy, but he's still a force on the outside. And then, like on offense, you brought in Matt Stafford, and they have one of the best receivers in the league, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, like you just said, pretty much the Rams' front line defense, I know Von Miller and Aaron Donald, those two are a complete powerhouse. I think Von Miller is better, is pretty much bringing me back to 2015 Von Miller when he won the Super Bowl and he was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he's very similar to what he was back then. He's definitely not going to be the same due to injuries in the past, but he's still like a dangerous force on the outside because you either got to worry about double teaming Donald or double teaming Miller, and either way you're going to get killed.
Also, I just want to talk about the Rams offense. First off, they traded Matt Stafford a year ago today. Not today, but in January 30th. 1 year later, they go to the Super Bowl. What do you think about Matt Stafford?
I honestly think he was an underrated guy in Detroit. He definitely had the stats. People say he was stat padding. But I definitely think now that he actually has some weapons around him, I think it obviously shows they made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I know, Matt Stafford, it's not pretty much, he didn't really do bad in Detroit. It's just the Lions. I think it's just the Lions and its team.
Yeah, the Lions have always just been a down franchise. There's nothing really you could do about it. He had Calvin Johnson at one point, Megatron. That was a deadly combination, but even with him, he couldn't really do anything because they didn't really have any sort of defense or anything.
Now he has Cooper Kupp on his offense, Odell Beckham, and they just traded Odell Beckham in November. And Odell Beckham, like I said, like you said earlier, he's not going to be the same because of injuries, but he kind of reminds me of when he was in his younger ages.
Yeah, he's definitely had a breakout playoff the postseason. Well, obviously, because mostly every game he's had almost 100 yards receiving and at least a couple touchdowns. He's definitely looking like his younger self. I still wouldn't say he was the number one option, but as you said before, injury riddled, so he's never going to be the same.
Yeah. This is the second year in a row that the home team plays at their home stadium. Tampa Bay did it last year. The Rams are doing it this year, but they're the away team this year.
Are they? I didn't know
Yeah, that's a little interesting. All right, so the next topic we're going to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, let's just talk about Joe Burrow first.
All right.
You go ahead if you
Well, honestly, props to Joe Burrow after coming off a terrible ACL injury last year. To go into your first year, get a horrible injury like that, you never know how a guy is going to bounce back. But he did it in a way where it was just shocking. He's got weapons all around him, and he helps that team win.
Plus, they had Jamar Chase, and they just drafted him this year, so pretty interesting.
Yeah, they have a very good wide receiver core. They're very young, very talented. You got Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, as you said. That's a very good core. They probably lost their tight end, their starting tight end, Usman, for the Super Bowl. But even with that high explosive offense, I don't think it really matters. You have Joe Mixon in the backfield too, who's very explosive.
Yeah, he is very explosive. Last year, you just said about Joe Burrow's injury. I don't want a rookie, especially as a rookie, I don't want to see anyone get injured that hard.
No, you never want to see people with, especially those type of injuries. ACLs, they take a long time to heal, and guys usually never come back the same. It's a miracle that he's playing this well at this level and now in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, or not Vegas, Angeles.
Los Angeles. Do you think Joe Burrow will win Comeback Player of the Year?
Absolutely. I mean,
Oh,
why wouldn't
heck
he?
yeah.
If he came back from an ACL injury and brought his team to the Super Bowl, absolutely.
Yeah, especially no other player would honestly do that. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, he had the shoulder injury when he played for Miami and went to Tennessee and won Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes Ryan Tannehill, just a shoulder injury, to play mediocre ball at Tennessee to win Comeback Player of the Year, I think, Joe Burrow's obviously going to win it.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. So the next thing I just wanted to talk to you about, what do you think about Jamar Chase? Pretty much.
I think he's definitely going to be a stud. He's got athleticism, he's got speed, and I don't remember the Week 17 game against the Chiefs where he had that like 70-plus yard touchdown where he just made one move and just burned everybody. He's a quick guy. I think it'll be an interesting matchup between him and Ramsey. It's going to be a good matchup between a rookie and a seasoned veteran like Ramsey.
Yeah. Joe Burrow, he, we were just talking about him winning Comeback Player of the Year. He's also, him and Jamar Chase are like the complete like duo.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to their LSU days. They played in a national championship, and like that was probably one of the most dominant teams in recent history in college football.
Yeah. The LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals this year in this year's Super Bowl. Pretty much, who do you think is going to win and why?
This is a really tough answer, but honestly, I love Cincinnati. They're a fun team to watch, but I'm going to go with the Rams. I would take Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, that core, and I'm sorry, but I don't think Jamar Chase is going to have a good day with Jalen Ramsey all over him all day. And then I just think the mixture of Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. is just going to be too much for the Bengals to handle. I could be wrong, but I am going to say this game is going to end 31-27.
31-27. I kind of have the same score as you, but like you said, pretty much I think Joe Burrow is going to get sacked a lot because, I mean, he only got sacked once in the Kansas City game.
Yeah, but I mean, if you watch the game, he was running around. The Bengals offensive line they're good enough to hold up for a little bit, but you need to be able to hold up a while for Aaron Donald. If the Bengals, I believe, can hold up on the offensive line, I actually do think they win this game. That's only if they stop him.
Yeah. Also, Jamar Chase, I only go for the AFC team, so I think the Cincinnati Bengals this year winning their first ever Super Bowl. But
is it their first?
Yeah, they haven't won one ever.
Okay.
They lost 2 to the San Francisco 49ers also, but that's pretty impressive how the Bengals were down 21-3. Then they came back and won the game.
I know. Chiefs choked.
Yeah. All right. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
All right.
Black History Month is the month of recognition and celebration of African Americans throughout U.S. history. Black historical figures are honored for their achievements and contributions. Take the time this month to support Black communities, businesses, artists, restaurants, and more. You also have the opportunity to understand Black history and search beyond the surface of common Black history knowledge. Remembering our Black ancestors' influence on the world and seeing their impact in today's society is essential to honoring their too often neglected accomplishments.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Eric Turkar from the Dartmouth District 1 Fire Department, and I'm here to talk to you about fire safety. Fire can be very dangerous. It is useful, but you gotta remember, fire is a tool and not a toy. Fire can be useful for cooking, heating, and also when you're camping, it's great to have a campfire. However, you gotta remember, fire is dangerous. You might see some stuff on videos, on the internet, of people playing with fire, and it looks really cool. However, they don't show you how dangerous and the results of what can happen if something goes wrong. Different degrees of burns will heal at a different rate. Your basic first-degree burn, similar to a sunburn, can take a week to 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to heal. Your more severe burns, when you get into a second-degree burn, they can take months to heal. And when you get to your third-degree burns, those can take years to heal completely, and the scarring for them can be permanent. So, school-age kids know that you have fire drills in your school. Is it a good idea to have a fire drill in your house? Of course it is. It's always good to be prepared with your exit plan, and do it as a fire drill. You can also test your smoke alarms at the same time. Have a grown-up in the house test one of the smoke alarms so that the sound is making, and then everybody can get out of the house and practice their escape plan. This is your standard fire extinguisher, a little bigger than what you'll have at your house, but it's called an ABC extinguisher. It'll extinguish most fires in your house. Easiest way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher is the word PASS, P-A-S-S. And basically, all you do is you pull this pin, A, aim the nozzle at the fire, at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and then sweep it back and forth. That's your easiest way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher. Remember, fire is dangerous and can hurt you. Be safe around fire and be prepared if a fire starts.
Let's take a look at the interview I had with Principal Tebow and our athletic director, Mr. Crisafulli. Welcome back. I have Mr. Tebow and Mr. Crisafulli on the show. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Ben. How are you?
I'm
Thank you,
great.
Ben, for having us.
No problem. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the LA Rams, and I'm going to start off with Mr. Tebow. What do you think about the Rams this season?
Well, I think they're all in, right? And, you know, they made some trades in the offseason to really bolster their defense and their lineup. And then, of course, they signed Odell Beckham Jr. midway through the year to kind of enhance their offense. So I certainly think they're a powerful team. And, you know, they like the play action pass off the run there, which is kind of a staple of Sean McVay's offense. So, you know, I think they're a pretty dynamic team with some great playmakers. Of course, we shouldn't forget Cooper Kupp, who's had a phenomenal season as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think pretty much like you just said, they just signed Odell Beckham in the not the offseason, but in November. Odell Beckham has pretty much changed the team, but he won't be the same through injuries. I talked to Zach about the same thing yesterday, but he won't be the same like he was in 2015, like because of injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah, Ben, I think that's a good point. I said the thing that I do think Odell Beckham Jr. has brought to the Rams is another red zone target. I think if you look down the stretch towards the end of the season, he was targeted as much as Cooper Kupp was in the red zone, and that could certainly be a key difference in this game.
All right, so what do you think about the LA Rams, Mr. Crisafulli?
I think the LA Rams have the two best players on the field. I believe Cooper Kupp, from the offensive standpoint, is dynamic and again can score on any play. I think that Aaron Donald, again, would be the defensive player of the year. And you have to attribute and put 2 to 3 guys on him to account for him, which does free up a lot of other defensive players to make plays. So I do like the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford has been a great addition, who's brought a little bit more stability than Jared Goff did.
And see, if you ask me, I think Matthew Stafford is the one liability that they have.
Yeah.
He almost gave away the game against Tampa Bay in the divisional round of the playoffs. Certainly, he almost cost them against the 49ers when he threw the balloon ball down the center of the field, and the 49ers safety dropped it, unfortunately.
But he did make the game-winning throw to Cooper Kupp versus Tampa that not many quarterbacks in the league can make.
That put Brady in retirement.
retirement.
But again, it's all about matchups, and I think you'd have to question Todd Bowles sending a nickel corner blitz or a slot corner blitz that doesn't get home, that puts Cooper Kupp one-on-one with a safety.
But Mr.
You're not going to win that
Tebow,
matchup very
Mr.
often.
Tebow, the good players make you pay.
Yes, they
And the two
certainly
of them
do.
did.
They certainly do.
The next thing on our topic is the Cincinnati Bengals, and what do you think how they improved throughout the season? I'll start, Mr. Tebow.
Well, Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow came back from that devastating knee injury he suffered last year. So certainly Cincinnati will go as far as Joe Burrow takes them, and he's taken them to the Super Bowl in just his second year. He's got confidence. The rest of the players really clearly play for him and step up their game. But again, they're loaded with playmakers too. Joe Mixon at the running back position, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. They certainly have plenty of playmakers on offense as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Christopher?
No, I mean, I'll piggyback on what Mr. Tebow said. I think Joe Burrow has been fantastic. I mean, he did have that knee injury last year, so this is basically, his first real full year in the NFL. And again, I think he's elevated their play. And again, drafting Jamar Chase is really, giving him that target where they had a nice chemistry at LSU when they played together. And I think that's really, translated onto the field for the Bengals this year.
That being said, you can't throw the ball from your back. And I think, the offensive, if there's a weakness for the Bengals, it's their offensive line.
Yeah.
And if you said what's the biggest strength of the Rams, I'd say it's their defensive line. There's only 5 linemen, so if 2 are trying to block Donald and that frees up Von Miller, people forget, the Rams traded for Von Miller at the start of the year. He's going to win a one-on-one matchup with the Bengals line, offensive line more often than not. So I think it could be a long day for Joe Burrow.
Yes, and another interesting matchup too is Jalen Ramsey covering, Chase, or what's his name that you just mentioned?
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. So again, I mean, I think by putting Ramsey on one of those two, that could take one of them out of the game plan.
I'll be interested to see if that is what they do, Ben. Put Jalen Ramsey locked up on Chase, because usually Jalen Ramsey doesn't lock up on the best receiver. They play him on one side of the field. If you going back to that divisional round with Tampa Bay, the only legitimate receiver Tampa Bay really had was Mike Evans, and Jalen Ramsey was not always on him. It's not like, some corners follow the best receiver, whether they line up on the right side or the left side in the slot, what have you. Jalen Ramsey, they don't always do that with him. So I'll be interesting to see if they do try and do that, lock him up with Jamar Chase. But again, Jamar Chase was kind of a non-factor against the Chiefs. So, and the Bengals still found a way to win. So, we'll see. But I think it's going to come down to the line play, and I think the Rams are superior.
And that's speaking from a former offensive lineman.
That's true.
But,
that is true.
But no, again, I think Chase was shut down. But again, with him being shut down, that means maybe production on the field, not so much influence on how a defense plays an offensive team. So he takes up a lot of attention.
Yeah, like you just said, T. Higgins against Jalen Ramsey. Zach Sylvia yesterday was saying, I'd want to see Jamar Chase against Jalen Ramsey. That would be a great matchup for the whole game.
Yeah, and I think the NFL, though, today is structured in such a way that the advantage always goes to the offense. I really do kind of feel for the defense. You can't breathe or touch the receivers much without a penalty being called. But in the playoffs, the NFL officiating, Well, you know how I feel about officials, Mr. Christofoli.
Can we pivot to a different topic?
Sure. Well, one thing, Ben, you didn't ask about was special teams, which is kind of often forgotten. But the Rams have excellent special teams as well. Great punter. But the Bengals have the rookie McPherson as the kicker, who has a big leg too. So, I would say it's probably.
And he has a tremendous amount of confidence right now.
Yes, he does. Shooter McPherson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I looked at one of the websites. They said McPherson's jersey got sold out in like a day.
Wow. People buying a Kickers jersey, Ben.
All right. So the final topic we got: who wins the Super Bowl and why?
My heart, I would love to say the Bengals, but everything I believe to my core says the Rams. The Rams are superior in the trenches. They have plenty of playmakers. Like I said, I think Donald and Miller wreck the game for the Bengals. And I'll say this. Can I give 2 predictions?
Sure.
If the Rams win, it's not going to be a close game. If it's a close game, I think the Bengals find a way to win. But I really do believe that the Von Miller and Aaron Donald are going to wreck the game for the Bengals, and I think it'll be a Rams game. The other thing is Sean McVay's been there before. I think that he was a little bit out-coached in his first Super Bowl matchup against the Patriots by Bill Belichick. But I think this time around he's probably learned from some of those mistakes. And it's a home game for them. We shouldn't overlook that, right? They don't have to travel to a city and be distracted and everything. They get to be in the comfort of their homes in the lead up to this. So I hope for a good game, but I think that this one could be a little bit of a rout.
What do you think?
I think the Rams. I think there's more firepower on both sides of the line with your offense and your defense. I do think, as Mr. Tebow mentioned earlier, that they've kind of pushed all their chips to the middle of the table. They've made a lot of decisions and transactions that they've traded away high draft picks over the next few years to load up for this year. I think that they have.
Is that potato chips that you were talking about?
What's that?
Potato chips? They push their potato chips to the middle?
No, I think you already have your mind on Super Bowl Sunday.
Are we going to talk about food, Ben?
Hold on. Let me make my prediction. Let me make my prediction. So I think
you haven't made it yet?
No, I'm explaining it.
How long is this show, Ben?
It's about 20 minutes now.
Well,
that's okay. It's primetime television. Like I said, I think the Rams, and I do believe that there are kind of stages here where the Rams have been there before. Now it's their time to cash in. Where the Bengals, they're working their way towards being consistently relevant. So I put all my money on the Rams.
Ben, I know this is your show, but can I ask a question now?
Yeah.
What's your go-to Super Bowl food?
My go-to Super Bowl food would be like chips and salsa or nachos or stuff like that.
Nachos are good. What about buffalo chicken?
Oh yeah.
Buffalo chicken
Wild
dip.
Wings.
Oh, you're a Buffalo Wild Wings fan? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Mr. Christofoli? Food? Give us a couple of items.
I could go another 20 minutes on the
Thanksgiving
show.
Dinner for you, I know, yeah.
I'm a big fan of potato skins, as you probably know. Potato skins are fantastic. But I do like the buffalo chicken dip.
Yes.
And the homemade one.
Especially the ones at school, though. They're good as well. So.
I haven't had the one at school.
Oh.
What's your prediction, Ben? Who's going to win and why?
I got the Bengals because I think I know Joe Burrow will get sacked a little bit, pretty much a lot. But like how they came back against Kansas City, I think they'll come back against the Rams and take the W.
You know how many times you were sacked against Kansas City?
Once.
Once. You know how many times you were sacked against Tennessee?
6 times.
9 times.
9 times. Oh.
He gets sacked half of that against the Rams, and the game's over.
Oh, jeez. All right, I'm glad. Thank you for coming on to the show today, guys, and see you around.
All right,
Absolutely.
excellent.
Thank you.
All
Enjoy
right.
the game.
Yeah. All right, guys. We asked students who is going to win the Super Bowl this year, and yeah, here you go. And who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
I'm going with the Rams. Bengals all day.
Bengals are going to win.
And who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl?
I'm taking my man Joe Shiesty and the Bengals all day.
All right. Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl this year?
The Rams.
All right. Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl?
The Bengals.
Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl this year?
The Bengals.
The Bengals.
Bengals.
Think's gonna win the Super Bowl this year?
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right. Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl this year?
The Bengals, yeah.
What a great show. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. On our next episode, we are taking you to Harvard University. Yes, the Ivy League Harvard University, to see how they produce sport events for ESPN. Finally, I am looking forward to the Super Bowl on Sunday, February 13th, 6:30 p.m. on NBC. Thank you all for watching. Go Bengals!